Okay. So we're picking up where we left off yesterday. Now, where we stopped yesterday was after doing a whole bunch of, pretty much we'd answer the question by looking back at the passage and going back and forth, yes? So today is going to be very short. We're going to do the first passage together and kind of work through it. The second passage, all except for one. Actually, let's just make the whole second passage for the points, for the different things that you can check them back in for. And then the third passage is going to be your homework. Okay? So when we look at this here, we're going to do this one together. So what we covered yesterday talking about this here, especially with science and reading, the first thing we need to do is read all of passage 1, yes? No. Because, again, there is a lot of detail in here and a lot of information, but there's a good chance, instead of reading this, if we go straight to question 1, the first question, let's see what it says. About how many millimeters, or millimeters did the brass wire stretch at 60 degrees? Well, okay, let's look back at the passage. Well, I have a lot of information there, but I do have two charts, yes? Does one of them contain brass? Oh, the first one does. And hey, it is have 60 degrees Celsius, yes? So what is brass stretched to at 60 degrees Celsius? So somewhere between 1 and 1.5, and which one is it closer to? 1. Okay, let's look at our answer choices. So we know it's not 0.9, and it's definitely not just 1.0, correct? So we'll say 1.1. That's it. So the correct answer for number 1 is answer choice C. A lot of it is, yes. Now, not every single question on the test will be exactly like this here. They've narrowed it into these. But heck, even if there are 10, 15 of these on the test, might as well knock these out first. Which of the following wires expanded the least at 80 degrees Celsius? Oh, well, let's go back to this here, because the first chart was the one that was dealing with expansion. 80 degrees Celsius. Let's go up. Iron. Iron is answer choice. Okay, so it's not iron. What's the next one? So the one with a ton of little dots is nickel. Is nickel an answer choice? Thank you. So nickel is the correct answer choice, G. That's it. Let's look at the next one. Which liquid expanded by less than 1 milliliter at 50 degrees Celsius? So I'm going to come back and look at our first figure, yes? Why wouldn't we look at the first one? It's not liquid because brass, aluminum, copper, nickel, iron, none of those are liquids. Do we have another one that refers to liquids? Figure 2, okay. Well, 1 milliliter, less than 1 milliliter at 50 degrees Celsius. So if we look at this here, 1 milliliter at 50 degrees Celsius, well, that's everything except for what? Ethanol. Ethanol is the only one that was below 1 milliliter, so everything except for ethanol, so water, salt water, and does anybody know what the third one is? Glycerol. I think that's also might be pronounced glycerin. Glycerol. Glycerin, I think, is another name of it. Glycerol. Glycerol and glycerin are probably in the same family, but it's glycerol. So that's it. Number 4, what was the largest amount of expansion on a wire in figure 1? So what temperature would I look at? Well, we look at figure 1, yes, and it's asking for the what?
Expansion.
The biggest expansion, yes? Does the temperature matter? No, we're just looking for the biggest expansion, which would be?
I'll look it up.
Somewhere up here, right? Between 2.5 and 3? The only one in that range is 2.7, yes? 3 is way too big. 2.2 is way too small. 2.7. Last one, what is the smallest amount of volume expansion measured in for a liquid at 60 degrees Celsius? So it'd be water, and it's close to 0.5. Yes? And that is it. Now, not every, as I said earlier, not every part of the test is going to have this straight one-to-one like this. But essentially, there's a lot of questions going to be like this. Now, we'll also get into it and cover it more later. But they'll also have a one-to-one to one. Essentially, I need to look at one chart. So to ask me the question, I look at figure 1, which leads me to figure 2, which leads me to the answer. So there might be a step in the middle. So essentially, the question tells me to look at figure 1. I do, which leads me to figure 2. Now I have the answer. So there might be a step in the middle. The one that normally, again, we'll cover it eventually, that you leave to the end is compare and contrast. According to the data, student 1 said this. Why do they differ from student 2? Why do figure pretty much survey 1 and survey 2, how do they differ when we're comparing two or different things? So a lot of times I would leave those for the end. Knock as many of these out. Because it might not all, bless you, be phrased about this way, but a lot of them are. Talking about figure 1, how does this compare? What are we talking about this here? And we'll see that a lot throughout this here. It's, okay, it showed up here, it shows up here, connect the dots. Here, connect the dots. Here, connect the dots. And that's what a lot of this is going to be. Now, I'm not going to bore you for the rest of the time. I'm going to let y'all work on the rest of those. So 6 through 15. 6 through 10 are extra. If you want to do those for some extra points added on, you can. 11 through 15 is for homework. Y'all have the rest of the time to work on this here. Also, if you have any of the other assignments that you have not turned in yet, you need to get to work on those and turn them in.